This is a quick video to talk about the TPMS invalid signal code. And I've got a 2010 Silverado here. And we're going to scan it real quick to see what code it is that we're talking about here. And it's this one right here. So the CO765 is right rear low tire pressure signal invalid. And so it's not that the tire's low, it's that the signal is invalid. And this happens generally when the sensors go bad. It can happen when you have the wrong sensor on the vehicle, but the number one thing is my sensor died. And so here is, one of the anomalies that can happen, and this truck is a great example of it. So I have my TPMS tool already programmed for this vehicle, and I'm gonna go over here we're gonna try to wake the sensor up here, and we're gonna go do them all. So I got that one. So it tells me what my tire pressure is and what signal we got. I'm gonna run around, I'm gonna get them all here. And this right rear is the one that's bad. But you'll see, this sucker will wake up when you hit it. See? And there we go. And so we drive down the road, that thing does not work. And so perfect. So look, with the TPMS tool, if I was to get this code, this would be my exact diagnostic method is, I see I've got a signal invalid code. All right, man, I got a bad TPMS sensor. It's not transmitting. I walk around with the tool, boom, it transmits, man. It acts exactly like all the other one does. Like all the other ones do, sorry. And so let's go grab the scan tool and see how to diagnose this. So here's how you're gonna diagnose this. So I've got a invalid signal code. I suspect that I have a bad TPMS sensor. My TPMS tool is showing me, that all of them wake up just fine. So my next move is to grab my data. So I'm in my tire pressure menu. I already built a little custom data list here because I was just on a road test. And so here's what we're gonna do. Here's all 4 tire pressure sensors. Now, as we drive down the road, each one of these should update at about a rate of like once per minute. Sometimes a couple seconds faster, sometimes a couple seconds slower, but it's once a minute. And when they transmit, they'll generally transmit a tiny little bit of different pressure difference, especially if the tire's cold and we're warming up. So it's normal to see, these start to build pressure as we drive down the road. And again, they'll be updating at regular intervals. Now, it's okay if it skips, 1 minute maybe and does 2 minutes because, maybe the tire pressure sensor was on the opposite side of the wheel and the signal didn't make it into the car or whatever. There's all kinds of variables, but we should see updates about once a minute. And so I drive this thing down the road and that's not what I was getting at all. So I already went on a road test. I'm going to show you what the recorded data looked like so we don't have to drive down the road. So here's some screenshots from the previous road test. So I'm going to go data, screenshots. And so this top one here is my first recording. There we go. And so notice I have one tire pressure sensor that comes online fairly quickly, the right front. And, you can see that it's making tiny little changes and certainly not a lot, but, as I drive, it warms up. Left front takes a lot longer, twice as long to wake up and much fewer updates. Right rear only updated a couple times and then it stopped. Left rear, and then right rear is flatline, man. It never did anything. And so while I was certainly able to wake that thing up with the TPMS tool, driving down the road just did not wake it up. Now we get to our next recording and notice we're at like 4,000 frames of data. I'll go back. We were just shy of 4,000. So that's like 5 miles of road test on this particular scanner. So we make it to 4,000 frames. My right rear does update once. And you can see my other ones, have periods of activity, but other than the right front, they're all crummy. And so, look, this is 2010. These sensors are, 12 or 13 years old at this point, and so it needs new ones. But anyway, that's how you're going to diagnose that signal invalid code. Or if you think you got a dead TPMS sensor, man, don't just wake it up with a tool and think you're good. What you really need to do is road test it, make sure the thing's transmitting and transmitting reliably. And thankfully, the pressures are always changing just a tiny little bit, and so you can use data like this to diagnose when you got a sensor it's not doing what it's supposed to do. So anyway, let's get 4 new sensors on this thing, and then we'll go for another ride and get some more screenshots. All right, sorry for the glare on this one. I got some daylight in the truck now, and so here's our 4 TPMS sensors, all transmitted at about the same rate. So we, cold start this, drive it down the road, tires start to warm up at highway speed, and you can see multiple updates on all the tire pressure sensors. And if I were to stop this and scroll back, and so you can see more of what's on screen, so you can see the tires there as they're first warming up, and so you see plenty of updates on all the tire pressure sensors. And so these are all alive and awake, good batteries, and there's one of the ways you can tell that that everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing.